Hong Kong, 1999. In the dense urban chaos of Tsim Sha Tsui, inside a tenement apartment barely big enough to move, police officers made a horrifying discovery. A Hello Kitty mermaid doll, seemingly innocent, held inside it the boiled skull of a missing woman. This wasn't the plot of a horror film. This was real. What followed became one of the most notorious murder cases in Asia, a case blending gangland revenge, teenage corruption, and a level of cruelty so grotesque even hardened detectives couldn't forget it. This is the Hello Kitty murder. The victim was a 23-year-old woman, born into poverty, who had grown up on the fringes of society. She worked as a nightclub hostess in Kowloon, a job that placed her in the shadowy intersection of nightlife, crime, and survival. To many, she was quiet, vulnerable, struggling. In early 1999, she borrowed $20,000 Hong Kong dollars from a man with connections to the criminal underworld, a mid-level gangster named Chan Man Lok. Chan was 34 years old. He had a lengthy criminal record for drug trafficking, pimping, and extortion. He served time in prison and was feared by many in the city's nightlife circuit. But the woman didn't repay the loan fast enough. Some say she stole from Chan, others that she merely missed payments. Either way, he decided to punish her, not just as revenge, but as a warning to others who might cross him. On May 17th, she was lured to Chan's apartment under the guise of resolving the debt. She stepped into his flat in Tsim Sha Tsui. The apartment was small, dark, and overcrowded. Chan didn't live alone. There were two others, his 21-year-old girlfriend, a woman known for following Chan obediently and showing little remorse, a 14-year-old girl, a runaway who had fled an abusive household and was taken in by Chan. She looked up to him, saw him as protector, and he, in turn, manipulated her loyalty. So why was Hello Kitty involved? The doll wasn't part of a ritual or symbol. It was simply popular at the time. Hello Kitty was everywhere. The mermaid plush doll had been in the house for months, likely bought as a gift or decoration. But in the end, it became the final, twisted resting place for a skull. Once inside the apartment, the woman was immediately bound. For over a month, she endured relentless torture. They beat her with metal bars and kitchen utensils. Melted plastic straws were dripped onto her skin. She was starved, burned, urinated on. She was forced to eat dog feces and drink her own urine. The 14-year-old girl later confessed they viewed the torture as entertainment. Sometimes they laughed. Sometimes they recorded it. The girl even admitted that she participated in some of the abuse, either to please Chan or because she was too afraid to say no. The woman tried to escape, once managing to scream for help through the apartment door. But the neighbors, used to noise and not wanting trouble, ignored it. By mid-June, her body gave up. She succumbed to her injuries. Even in death, the abuse continued. Chan and the others didn't panic. They dismembered her. Her body was cut apart in the bathroom. Some organs were stored in the refrigerator. Her head was boiled in a large pot to remove all flesh. Afterward, the skull was inserted into the Hello Kitty mermaid doll, which remained perched on a shelf like a gruesome trophy. A sign of domination. A grotesque attempt to erase her identity and humanity. The apartment smelled. Flies gathered. Still, no one reported anything. But the 14-year-old girl began to crack. She later claimed she started seeing the victim's ghost, that the woman appeared in dreams, that her face was burned into her mind. She stopped sleeping, stopped eating. And on July 24, 1999, 2 months after the woman's death, she walked into a local police station. What she told them sounded unbelievable. A murder, torture, a skull in a doll. The police officers were skeptical until they visited the flat. What the officers found was unlike anything they'd encountered. The apartment reeked of decay. There were bloodstains, plastic bags containing human tissue, and of course, the Hello Kitty doll with the skull inside, but most of the body was missing. Despite exhaustive efforts, police couldn't locate key remains. They searched nearby garbage sites, drains, and surrounding flats. Cadaver dogs were brought in. Specialists examined the home's plumbing for signs of bone fragments. The fridge was emptied, cleaned, cataloged. Only partial remains were ever recovered, insufficient for a complete autopsy. All 3 suspects were arrested. The trial began in 2000 and gripped Hong Kong, but prosecutors had a problem. Without a full body, they couldn't determine the exact cause of death. So instead of first-degree murder, they were charged with manslaughter, unlawful imprisonment, and preventing lawful burial. In the end, all 3 were convicted and sentenced to life imprisonment, but with the possibility of parole after 20 years. The teenage girl, due to her age and cooperation, was placed in a juvenile rehabilitation facility. The public was stunned. How could such a grotesque, prolonged crime result in a sentence many felt was far too light? The answer was legal. Hong Kong's laws at the time required clear evidence of premeditated murder for maximum sentencing. Without a body, and with claims that death was not intended, murder could not be proven beyond doubt. Still, the outrage lingered, and the case went down in history. The apartment was abandoned. Neighbors say strange noises continued for months. Knocks at midnight. Faint crying. No tenant has successfully stayed there since. The Hello Kitty brand temporarily saw backlash in Hong Kong, its symbol of childhood joy tainted by an unspeakable act. The 14-year-old girl, now an adult, remains hidden under protection. Chan and his girlfriend remain incarcerated, silent about the crime. But the story lives on, not just for its brutality, but for what it revealed. The fragility of the human conscience and the horror that can hide behind the most innocent of faces.